Today's topic is ecosystems, and we are studying my favorite part of the botany, ecology. So the ecosystems consist of the several communities. So, like for example, this is an ecosystem of a nurse lock. So this fallen tree is dead, but it uh, becomes a shelter for the animals, microorganisms, and other plants, the moths here, and we can see some mosses here, and also some animals uh, uh, can use this as a shelter. So this is actually uh, uh, also will enrich the soil with the uh, organic substances. So and the uh, ecosystems usually have several communities inside, and it will interact with the other communities, and there are interactions between the physical environment like the soil, air, and water, uh, and the energy is moving through different parts of this ecosystem. And if we uh, take several ecosystems, and then uh, like all ecosystems of the planet are combined to biosphere, so that includes everything that is on the planet. And but biosphere is like not only the only part of the planet, so there are also other spheres like atmosphere, for example, is an air, and hydrosphere is water, and lithosphere is the earth. So all these together will give the planet Earth, and ecologists usually study these spheres like biosphere and other atmosphere, and they are very crazy about the pollution of the and these spheres, like pollution of the water, pollution of the air, and recently also pollution of the soil. So and all these biospheres are linked together, and different studies study the different parts, like for example chemistry studies the composition of the air, water, and then geology will study the composition of the soil, and all they are part of the biology. So and the humans that have mm, usually seen in many of these communities and ecosystems uh, make a dramatic uh, influence to every of these sphere, and the everything that happens in the world, like politics, economy, may lead to the various implications. For example, recently, most of the car manufacturers decided to stop the production of internal combustion engines to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions to the atmosphere. So, uh, they, but now they are, they calculated the projections, and uh, like at the beginning they they plan to switch completely to the electricity, to the electrical vehicles by 2025. But now they calculated everything, and uh, the prognosis was not so optimistic now, because uh, the uh, the current electricity uh, delivery system will not handle that, and like for example, in only in Europe, uh, they uh, to to uh, to cover the electricity demand for the electrical vehicles, they have to build about 1.5 million charging stations. So by far, they only planning to build about 200 charging stations during the next 5 years. So, and that will not even cover the half of the demand. So because they need 1.5 million, but they only can plan only 200, but they are not sure if they can build 200. So, and also like the many manufacturers will cannot start production of the vehicles. Like for example, Tesla is building a huge factory in Germany, and so to produce the electrical vehicles for Europe. But they already completed the uh, like 2 years already. They completed the factory, the building 2 years ago, but still cannot get the regulatory documents. So because of the bureaucracy in Europe, so and that is why they cannot start production. So because of the ecological limits, so the green people don't allow to build the green vehicles in the country. So that is a nonsense. So I don't know why, because maybe because of the politics, maybe because of the some ecological regulations, but still Tesla cannot obtain permission to start production in Germany. So, but actually the Tesla is a American company, but and like Germans, they don't like Americans probably. Okay, so and also the if we talk about the populations in the ecology, and the dispersion of the populations can be different. So that may be a random dispersion that is usually not seen. So you may think that most of the plants are dispersed randomly. That is not the truth. So because it may look random, but in fact it will usually plants are dispersed in a clumped dispersion. So when they have some patches, uh, like even if you go to the forest, then you can find these patches if you just know how to find them. So and this is more common dispersion, clumps dispersion, and there is also a uniform dispersion that when the space between the individuals is even. So and usually is seen when there is a competition between the individual clones, and there is very severe competition, like for example in a crowd of people. So when everyone goes to the train, so at the uh, underground station, so this is the uniform dispersion. So and someone can even help himself with the hands to go and to take a seat at the trains in the train wagon, so they can sit and more comfortably or and like um, to toil less. Okay, so and the if we look at the uh, growth of the uh, population, then we can find that the growth is usually exponential. So, for example, this is the number of bacteria that is growing, uh, and they divide frequently, like every 10 minutes. There is one bacteria called Escherichia coli. It divides every second. Like the population increases every twice every second, so very fast dividing bacteria. So that is why there is so much Escherichia coli in a poop. So actually, it divides in uh, fast in ideal conditions and conditions are ideal in our intestine and also in the intestine of other animals. And unfortunately, usually the population will not grow indefinitely. So, like for example, same is for the humans, because if we grow indefinitely, then we will overpopulate the planet. So, and that is why in reality the growth it looks like an S curve. So, and because there is some limit in the capacity of the environment. So this is an exponential growth, uh, and when the carrying capacity of the environment is approached, the growth is will slow down. Uh, so it's S-shaped curved. So uh, and if we look at the uh, meta populations, and then we can see uh, different types of the survivorships of species. And in type 1, there is the mortality is greatest in the old age. So then in type 2, mortality is even on all ages, and type 3 is a mortality that is greatest among the young. So this has three types. So the like in humans it's usually type 1 because the more the older the humans will die more frequently. This is like a natural death. And then type 2 is like, for example, death from the road accident will be actually type 2 because uh, it's completely random, or for example uh, from the cancer. uh, so this will be type 2. So type 1 is actually natural death, or like death from Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease. So usually type 1. Then the death from the uh, young, from the, for example, with the HIV can be uh, death. So if children is born with HIV, then he or she will die young because they don't develop immunity completely. So or any death from prenatal death from prenatal diseases is actually type 3. Okay, and then the um, the uh, landscape also plays a role in the distribution of the uh, species. So then if we look at the different plants in the mountains, then this uh, mountain will consist from different patches, and uh, each they like there is a reason for that uh, they make these patches because um, they and they have a specific reason for that because of uh, uh, the spread of the trees and depends on the slope and also on the conditions on that slope. Uh, and then if we look at the different communities, so uh, they like uh, they interact with each other, and for example this is a milkweed that is protected by its chemicals, so that is why uh, 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 it's only can be eaten by the uh, by this uh, uh, by this uh, caterpillars. So that is an insect that uh, have antidote for the poison in this plant. So other animals and insects cannot consume this plant because of the toxicity. So uh, and uh, and milkweed is actually evoluted, and the insect that eat this plant co-evoluted with this plant. And then another example is uh, ant, like ants uh, that consume nectar from the flowers, and um, uh, the this ant guards this nectar uh, from the uh, and that is why other insects cannot consume the nectar, and it's only consumed by the birds, like hummingbirds. Uh, and also the ant can consume some nectar from the leaves for the guarding the nectar from other insects. So, and this is called a mutualism that helps to the like two different species will help each other to survive. And if we look at the commensalism is another type of the uh, of interaction, and is usually the plant benefits from one another, but will uh, like like in symbiosis, or both plants are benefiting, but in a commensalism only one of them will benefit but will not harm the other plant. So this is actually epithets in the rainforest tree, and they grow on the trees, and uh, so by they don't harm the plant. And there is also a parasitism. So parasitism is actually when someone is growing at the and harming the host plant when they obtain a nourishment from the uh, transport system of the plant, and sometimes they even can kill the host uh, or may lead to a disease. Uh, and If you look at the this section of the rocks, uh, then we will see the difference in the composition, um, and this can be seen that so these rocks will produce a soil, and like when we have a little bit soil we only can grow mosses and lichens. Then if we increase the amount of the soil, then the ferns and grasses uh, can uh, uh, start to grow, and then low shrubs, because the higher is the tree, then the deeper is the roots. So, but roots cannot go through the stones. Also, that is why we need more soil for the trees, and the higher is the tree, then the higher, and the more time is required for this process. So that is why trees will not recover fast. So and if we look at the uh, um, so this young pine, and there is no pines nearby. So and this is like uh, looks like that this field was used for crops, but then they stopped to cultivate this field, and then the trees uh, will get this uh, place back. So like it looks like this is near the trees, near the forest. So there was some agricultural production here. So from the because soil is like very even. So and if you look at the uh, ecological energy flow, then uh, and it's usually goes in one direction. So the most universal source of energy is sun. So it's a star of the solar system. So there are many other stars, but we don't get much energy from them. We can only see the light. And then the sun, the energy of the sun mostly is reflected back to the space, and then only half is absorbed by the atmosphere. So that is why it some of them will influence the weather by the hydrologic cycle, and then some of the energy derives winds and ocean currents, also influences the weather, and only small amount is captured by the photosynthesis, and then it can be irradiated back to the space as the heat. So and uh, but only small amount of it will stay on the earth. So that is why the energy flow is only one direction. And that is why we uh, humans will produce energy from the alternative sources, like usually it's the coal, because like the recent research have been shown that the solar panels are not as effective as they should be, or advertised, because they capture less energy than the cost of production of them. So it's not very economically, uh, uh, it's not a good investment, because they produce not so much energy even in ideal conditions. And also they require maintenance and cleaning, and all that uh, is not usually uh, uh, can be done. It's not uh, at the current moment is not uh, feasible to make. So that is why uh, energy plants like mostly are atomic or coal plants, or water-based plants like hydro stations. And if we look at the levels of the food chain, uh, then there is energy like comes from the sun. Then the plants will produce an organic substances. So and that is consumed by the mice. So mice are actually very important, and they survive everywhere. And then the mice are consumed by the reptiles. So this is a secondary consumers. Then, sorry, third trophic level, or secondary consumers, and then the fourth trophic level is birds that consume uh, the uh, the uh, both mice and reptiles. And then actually the decomposers will uh, return back everything to the soil, and then plants will produce again the uh, the organic substances from the inorganic using the energy from the sun. So decomposers include microorganisms and mushrooms. Okay, so and if we look at the uh, at the uh, in to the links in the forest, so these are so diverse, so everything is connected to each other, these food chains. And this is uh, only food uh, connections. So if we take away anything of this, then it will make an imbalance. Like if we kill foxes, then the birds will grow and eat all the insects, and then insects actually will not uh, like decompose the trees then actually. Yeah, and it will like the balance will be not uh, uh,
Saved.
yes, saved, uh, or still, so it will be like switch to the another level. So it will uh, if it eventually it will find the balance, but this balance will be on the another level. So and usually it's not much favorable. So actually if we look at the pyramid of the energy, so we have producers that are the most part of the species, like plants. then the primary and secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. So as we see, the high is the consumers level, the smaller is the amount of these consumers. So what humans are actually much like will be at the top of these consumers. So and despite the amount like 5 billion, sorry 8 billion, we are still not so much humans on the planet. So because there are more decomposers and producers on the planet, fortunately. So and for example, if we look at the carbon dioxide um, cycle, so like this is have become most important in the recent years, like recent 2 years, and the the primary uh, producers of this carbon dioxide are combustion. So like from the humans, this is plants, vehicles, airplanes, uh, the vessels, like the uh, the ships, and the uh, everything that burns, that will be a combustion, and mostly it's from the humans, but sometimes also from the natural disasters like fires, like forest fires, for example, are uh, uh, the highest uh, the highest producers of the carbon dioxide. Then the some of the carbon dioxide will go from the decomposition of the dead organisms by the microorganisms, and then also by the respiration of the animals and microorganisms. And plants will also consume or produce some carbon dioxide with the respiration, but they mostly uh, overcome this, like uh, they consume more carbon dioxide than they produce. So that is why the forests are actually the main producers of the oxygen, and on the main consumers of the carbon dioxide. Uh, and like the ancient plants were consuming much more carbon dioxide, and one of the theories is that the ancient plants died not because of the large meteorite, but because of the lack of the carbon dioxide. So they can, so there were no animals on the planet, so that is why they were so diverse. They consumed all carbon dioxide, and then they start dying because of the lack. Some of them evolved and made special holes in the leaves, stomata, that increase the carbon dioxide uh, transfer, and they survived, but all others were dead. So, so they disappeared from the surface of the planet, and then the decomposers also make the coal that we use, coal and the natural gas. Natural gas is actually from the remnants of the plankton, and then we use this coal and gas to produce fuel and heat, so we don't freeze during the winter, and also have an electricity for using the notebooks, for using the vehicles, and like even bicycles now are electric. So uh, like everything runs from the electric now. Like toothbrush is from the electric toothbrush. So then electric uh, like messengers, the seats are electric now. sits with the ventilation and with the message. Then so wherever we go, everything is automatic, right? Uh, so that is why the population, human population, is now like uh, having less physical load, and that is why everyone is overweight because of the everything is automatic doors. Like what is the purpose of the automatic door? So for like it's okay, that's fine with the in the disabled patients, but even they can open the door. So and everything is now automatic and consumes energy, electricity that goes from the natural gas and coal. So and like coal or also the oil, uh, mostly actually. So actually, oil and natural gas they produce together. So natural gas is the just core. Uh, so mostly they produce oil, but natural gas is less expensive, but still, this is just the they, they come together, so you cannot produce one without another.
By the way, if you don't mind, I want to say something
No, I
about.
don't mind.
Okay, thank you. I want to say something about the natural gas that maybe can cause sometimes disasters. Especially it happened in the past in the lake called Lake Nios in the Cameroon, when this gas was formed year by year for many years, and suddenly it was released in the air and caused the death of thousands of people in Cameroon.
Mm. I see. So I think it's released from the soil that is underwater, right?
Yeah, it was condensating there for many years, creating like tremendous amount of CO2, and suddenly it was released like a big explosion. By a big explosion, it was released in the air and it killed many people in the Cameroon.
I see. So probably is that because like this gas was there was a reservoir of the gas underground and that is close to the surface of the water, and then some of that gas leaked to the water, and then some ship was going nearby, and then uh, put some plug spark, and this gas exploded because of this small spark, or maybe some any other spark to the in the water that lead to the uh, this explosion. So usually it's not happens. So probably it's happened because of the some human intervention, because usually it doesn't happen with the natural uh, with the natural disasters, like for example forests. Even forest fires are also most commonly with the human
Yes,
interaction. But yes, of course, the lights can be also flashlights can be also make the uh, forest fire, especially in hot conditions when the weather is hot during the summer. So it's actually very common. Uh, so and then if we look at the nitrogen, also that is almost the same with the nitrogen cycle, and then also on uh, the organisms that produce the nitrogen. So these are the nodules in the on the roots. That is a special bacteria that's fixing nitrogen from the air, and also cysts in the uh, with the bacteria that fix nitrogen, and because plants cannot fix nitrogen because of they mostly fix oxygen. Sorry, they mostly fix the carbon. And if we look at the uh, movement of the water, that is also the same. Like the sun will heat the water, then it will evaporate, and then the water will precipitate in the atmosphere because of the negative temperatures, then will moved by the air and then precipitate back uh, to the soil. Some of the water will be absorbed by the soil and then goes to the underground water, and then underground water will supply some oceans, or like if there is a connection here, then it will supply an oceans, and then and rivers, sorry, not oceans but lakes and rivers, and then the lakes and rivers will run off to the ocean eventually, because ocean level is lower and water is moved by the gravity of the earth. uh, so this is actually the also the cycle, so everything happens in the cycle. So and there are processes that go up, and there are processes that go down. So and bottom up processes are based on the uh, uh, so in the usually in the food chain. So there are producers uh, at the bottom, and uh, and uh, the nutrients are regenerated and uh, at the first level, and then uh, are usually the uh, bottom-up processes are commonly seen in ecosystems uh, because there is much resources are available in the soil, and there is water as well, and there are large number of the producers, and these producers will control the number of the herbivores, and herbivores will control the number of the carnivores. So humans are actually here, they are carnivores, and uh, and top-down processes uh, regulate ecosystem by the interactions, uh, especially with the trophic level, and uh, uh, and this regulation occurs because people eat animals like carnivores eat herbivores, and also eat another carnivores like humans, uh, and uh, then and herbivores eat producers, uh, and that affect the number of the nutrients, and uh, these processes dominate an ecosystem, and it in, if effect of this increases from the top to down through the food chain, and uh, this actually uh, change the preferences in, like uh, so and the uh, any changes can lead to the decrease in the population and decline of the populations, uh, and um, uh, and usually the top up and top-down processes are not exclusive, and top-down, like in some places, top-down regulations will be higher, like for example in deserts and in several species. So uh, uh, and all these processes are usually appear in dynamic, so and they are not constant. Okay, I think that is all for today. This is a pretty uh, like different lecture. So, and now we are going out uh, of the botany and looking to other sciences that are uh, around the botany. So, and I hope that will help you to understand the interactions with all the sciences and help you to learn more. So, any questions?
Is it the last lecture or in botany?
No, as far as I know, we have like last lecture will be in May, I think,
Okay.
because we have lectures every 2 weeks.
I see. Yeah.
So there are like 3 or 4 more lectures, depending uh, on the holidays, because May is actually have many holidays in May.
In May.
Yes, so if no questions, then I think we can conclude, and thank you very much for attending the lecture.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you too. Have a nice day too. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.